I want to talk a bit about big tech companies, empowerment of the people who use them, and accountability. All these three things are closely tied, of course. Um, so I've just done my last video. You may have watched it or looked at it by the time you look at this. And I was talking about just American politics, but actually, social media and big tech companies are increasingly getting involved um, in the political discourse of particularly of the United States, but also elsewhere. Partly because they've been used ever since their foundation in electioneering and politicking on both sides. But when Donald Trump was banned from Twitter, it opened up a whole big debate about free speech and the power of tech companies. Now, my stance on Donald Trump is that if you're a powerful figure, if you're president of the United States, and you're just telling lies after lies after lies and pushing baseless conspiracy theories, at some point there has to be an accountability there. So I don't see Donald Trump as a victim, like, oh, they're taking away his free speech. I don't really see it like that because I think that free speech comes with responsibility. But here's the problem. It's more that the arbiters of that, in this case, Twitter, um, that action then redefines what they are. Um, I do think that Donald Trump should be accountable, and I am not a believer in absolute free speech. I, if you believe that, if you believe in absolute free speech, then you believe in the right to make threats because that is technically free speech. Now, most legislatures it would be counted as hate speech or threats, but in the most pure form of the words, it is free speech. It's saying what you believe. But there is legislation against that. Absolute free speech is a bit like absolute anything. It doesn't exist. And this is something that has to be understood. But I actually, just on a personal note, I disconnected someone who misinterpreted that because they claimed they thought I was a liberal, and I was. Firstly, I've never called myself a liberal, at least not in recent years, so I don't know where he was getting that from. But I don't consider it illiberal to say that there is responsibility with speech. I don't think it's an illiberal position. I think that's a common sense position. So anyway, I deleted this person because I really didn't like the fact that he just twisted my words in that way. Um, from Facebook, this was. But having said all that, about accountability of power and about free speech, there is an important debate to be had about the power of these big tech companies, social media tech companies, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Those three come to mind. I'm not that familiar with Instagram. I don't actually use Twitter myself, but obviously, it always seems to be Twitter that when we hear about so and so is in hot water because of a Twitter post, it always seems to be Twitter more than Facebook. Actually, when we hear about public figures getting into hot water, it tends to be more Twitter than Facebook, from my observation. But I was monetizing my last video because that's a routine thing I do after each video. Um, and I always try to be as honest as possible within the parameters that they set. So, for example, if I do have profanities in my video, it's always light profanities like bam, or something like that. And I'll have to do it now. I'll say that. I'll say, okay, yeah, I've used mild profanity. Almost all my videos touch on controversial social issues. Almost all of them. So when you look at for other creators out there, you'll know what I'm referring to on YouTube. There's different categories that talk about does your video contain drug use? Does your video contain violence? Does your video they've got this section, hateful content. Now I really loathe that. I hate that section. That's probably the truth. I hate the hateful designation because I'm in this situation whereby I talk about controversial issues like Black Lives Matter, like the culture wars, that sort of thing, inevitably they're controversial. You know, you cannot talk about politics without it being controversial to somebody. But they don't have a section called controversial content, which I'd be okay with. They have it as hateful content. And I've on this sort of how-to video or the video which was promoting this self-certification thing, I gave some feedback on this. I said, look, this is absurd. How do you expect people to, because it's putting people into a corner as a creator. You have to be honest because if you're not, I mean, you have to be honest within their designation because if you're not, you'll get demonetized anyway. So the only choice I have is to go to that section because the last section deals with terrorism and so on, which most of my videos don't cover. Okay, so it has to fall under hateful content. But they then subdivide that, which is a little bit more logical. Reference to marginalized group made in a non-hurtful manner as part of a public debate. Okay, I talk about Black Lives Matter, for example, and I don't talk about it in every video, but occasionally I do. So that would then ostensibly come under that content. But I bitterly resent that being described as hateful content because I'm not saying that I hate any individual involved with that, and I'm certainly not making racist statements. So whoever designed this, I mean, I know it's an algorithm, but people still have to design algorithms. The way it works is you self-certify, the algorithm then checks if it's correct or not, and then it goes back to the human sensors. But you know, what I resent is they frame this as giving creators more empowerment. I think it's the opposite. I think it's more control. I don't know what's going to happen with this video. You know, I'll tick all the buttons that it's um well, it's not hateful content because this is about YouTube. It's not about any um social movement or anything like that. So I don't even know what category this will come under. But you know, inevitably it will then go back to the human censors if I get to be reviewed. And I say to them, you're watching this. I'm talking about you. Why is it you put creators into a corner like this? You know, I'm not saying that I individually am not important, but collectively creators are. So you're tying people's hands. You're not allowing them to have a clear idea of what they're doing wrong. I mean, you're talking about hateful content. How is talking about controversial social issues hateful content? To me, it's a gross misuse of the word, and I really, really take issue with it because I have to go for that category because it's the only one that fits, and yet it's not accurate. So it makes me quite angry because it's a question of empowerment. Now, I could just have a situation where I don't monetize any videos, and I probably get away with being a lot more flexible in my words. I'm always honest. You see, what I'm arguing here is not that creators should just be able to say whatever they want, because that would be the absolute free speech dynamic that I spoke about at the start of the video, and I don't believe in that. Um, you know, some on the right who want alternative mediums whereby there's just unlimited free speech. I wouldn't entirely endorse that idea. I think there has to be some responsibility. The problem is there's a very, very strong perception right now, if you follow the culture wars at all, that these big tech giants are definitely, definitely ideologically pro left because it tends to be more conservative or even centrist content like mine that tends to get flagged. And as an example of this, well, this is moving outside YouTube now, but to look at Facebook, for example, Trump gets his poster censored there, right? Okay, the logic is it's spreading fake news and so on, fair enough. But why then are Islamist hate preachers allowed to continue promoting their extremely hateful content? Why is it that the Chinese Communist Party gets to promote their extremely dishonest content, which is defending genocide? There is absolutely an inconsistency. And I do think it comes down to the ideological biases of the people behind the scenes. That might sound like a conspiracy theory, but you have to look at why there is an inconsistency there. I wouldn't entirely dismiss it. And bear in mind that people at the top of these tech companies are immensely powerful. They're among the richest 10 people in the world. I mean, Zuckerberg certainly is. Elon Musk is a different. I mean, imagine if Elon Musk owned one of these companies. That would really set the fires of debate going because he's now, disgustingly rich. Just, I don't know what Musk's politics are specifically though. So, but this is a question of empowerment. The way I see it as a creator, I know that I've got obligations. I know that I can't just say anything I want without any sort of responsibility. But it's the way these things are defined by the algorithms. It's beyond crap. It's not helpful. It's confusing. It's inconsistent, and it's shackling. And when I looked at that video on self-certification, the guy was just talking as if it was a good thing for creators, but it's not. It's shackling. And these people don't. What infuriates me about big tech companies is they will not listen to feedback. I just don't think they listen to feedback. They just do these things. They impose new regulations, they impose new so-called guidelines. They don't actually listen to the contentions. They don't address that, and it's infuriating. And it's not just me. I've seen this with other people who raise concerns, and their comments are ignored. They do respond to comments that are praising them, but they ignore the ones that are criticizing them. So that to me suggests a power dynamic at play. And I think it'll breed resentment. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to just go away from YouTube, but I'm frustrated by this because, I'm making videos. It makes sense to be monetized. I may as well get something for the time I'm putting into these. But I'm not getting, viral views. I average maybe 40 views per video. It's certainly not viral, and I appreciate everyone who watches these, but I do feel quite frustrated as a creator because, if you're putting the time into it, it's nice to get a bit of something out of that. The viewership, I do appreciate, I really do. Um, and I appreciate the fact that there is a YouTube for this platform. So I'm not being ungrateful for the platform itself, but I do think it's legitimate that when creators help to build a company up to the size that it is. I mean, I'm a microcosm of what helps to build this up, but I'm a very, 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 very small part of it. So surely I have a right to have some say in terms of feedback. So if I was to say to them directly what they need to change, I think they need to understand what creators see themselves. When I'm monetizing my video and I see a segment called hateful content, and I have no choice but to go for that, that's demoralizing because then I think, well, I'm being designated a hater or an extremist or something, and it's just a gross misuse of the term of the words. I'd be okay with like a segment called controversial content. Like my video contains content that might be offensive to some. My content deals with controversial social issues. I'd be okay with that because that's the truth. But calling it hateful content, it's it's ridiculous. Um, and I really do think there's a power dynamic at play here, and I think it causes quite a lot of anger against these companies because they make no mistake about it. They have immense power, immense power.